Most people think that the pathway to the top is a straight line. Mine was one of the rockiest roads, with more obstacles and hurdles on it than anyone really knows. I fought my way out of an impossible situation to go on a run towards the top in the UFC. In this video, I'm going to break down the mindsets and the actions that accompanied them in order to make it happen. If you're facing what seem like immovable obstacles, make sure you stay to the end because I made this for you. The year is 2011. I'm coming off the best 2 wins of my career, and I've made the move to Montreal to train at TriStar Gym full time. Everything is going in the right direction. Everyone around me knows that I'm the next one to get signed. I'm the next one to go to the UFC. And then the Ultimate Fighter trials happen. First, you go into a giant cattle call. Hundreds of fighters in the room, all wearing numbers. In order to stand out, your first test, you have to grapple for 2 minutes against another competitor. If you're able to pass the grappling portion, which I did with flying colors, you move on to the striking portion. But you're just doing a pad session with some random coach that you've never met, and you have to shine and show that you have what it takes in order to make it to the UFC. The third and final step for that day is an audition. You go into a room with Sean Shelby, Dana White, and the producers of the reality show, and you have a few minutes in order to impress them with your ability to speak and your personality, to show them that you belong on a reality TV show. Now, in my audition, after I had passed the grappling and the striking, when I was in that room with Dana and Sean Shelby, I had everything prepared. I had a rap song that I spit to them and had them like falling over with laughter. Unfortunately, this rap song never got released, and I have now lost it, so you will never hear it. Some of you may be thankful for that because you have heard some of the other things I put out and you didn't like it. Regardless, the audition went fantastic. After that, you get sequestered in a hotel for further drug testing and more interviews. I did the whole process. I passed all the tests. It was guaranteed that I was going to be a part of the tough 15 cast. The audition was for the welterweight tournament and the heavyweight tournament. Unfortunately for me, the 170-pound weight class got cut that year because they had Kimbo Slice as one of the members of the heavyweight cast. And because they did not want him to have to fight in order to get into the house, they decided to only run heavyweights and not have the fight to get in. So he was guaranteed to be on the season. Great for Kimbo, not so much for me. So I went back to Montreal and I booked my next fight. My last 2 wins were at MFC against Ryan Healy and Richie Whitson. Whitson being 12-1, and Ryan Healy, who is the twin brother of Patrick Healy, most of you know him. I destroyed both of them. So my next opponent was fresh out of the UFC vet Marcus, the Irish hand grenade Davis, a dangerous southpaw striker, but a person perfectly made for my aggressive yet technical style. So I began training camp. I felt amazing already. This was 8 weeks out from the fight, and everything was already on point. I could have fought within a week, but I still had 8 to get even better. My first sparring session was 5 5-minute rounds of sparring with the best of the best at TriStar Gym, Montreal, in the heyday of George St. Pierre, in the beginning of the rise for Rory McDonald. The gym was packed, full of killers, and I got to spar all of them. My very last round was with a heavyweight named Moise Rimpon. I was lighting him up. I was so fast, and I trusted myself so much that it was just an amazing round. But right before the end, he threw a bomb overhand right that I just didn't see coming. And when it hit me, I felt something absolutely horrible. It was like an electric current, like a lightning bolt, went through my face. Immediately, from the force of the blow, I fell to the ground, and I held my face, and I just kicked my legs. Some of that was frustration, some of that was pain. I opened my eyes and looked up at the clock, and there were 2 clocks. One here, and one about 12 feet over and 3 feet down. Now I had double vision. I knew, because I had experienced this electric type of pain before, that my face was broken. And I also knew that I had never experienced anything like that happening to my eyes in my entire career, which was quite long at that point. I already had 30 fights. I knew that something was wrong. At the hospital, they determined that I had broken my orbital, and it was a blowout fracture. The entire bottom of my eye socket cracked off, and they had to take it out and replace it with a titanium mesh plate. I woke up from the surgery and I still had that same double vision. The doctors told me it was probably just going to be the swelling. My vision would return to normal. Now, before this injury happened, I mentioned that everyone around me, my coaches, my training partners, my family, my friends, all was acting extremely confident that I would become the next one to go to the UFC, the next one out of Canada to make it. And with my personality, with my ability to sell fights, with my fighting style, it was quite likely that I would become that next marketable household name in the UFC, similar but different to George St. Pierre, the current champion. Now, after surgery, everyone was singing a very different tune. My family was begging me to quit. My friends were begging me to quit. My training partners, my coaches started acting as if this was a tragedy, as if I could never come back from this. And a part of me believed them. How many fighters have broken both their orbitals and become champion? And would my vision ever return to normal? How can I fight if I can't see properly? The double vision that I experienced was like this, okay? So everything over here was double. Everything up here is double. It was only in this little corner, this little window, that I could see single vision. The biggest problem that I had wasn't even that I wasn't able to fight. The biggest problem was that I was running out of money. I had moved to Montreal after a big win with about $10,000. I had paid out of my pocket for the trip to Vegas in order to go to the Ultimate Fighter trial, and I had been paying out of my pocket for my living space in the TriStar dorms. Now, thank goodness for Oz Hobby, being the incredible coach that he is, allowed me to stay in the dorms for free afterwards. But I still had to figure out a way to find food, and that was quite difficult because I couldn't work. I didn't speak the language. The only skill that I really had was to be able to teach martial arts. But if your face has just been broken, then it's going to be pretty difficult for you to teach and demonstrate martial arts, hold pads for people that don't know how to punch properly, because the risk of getting re-injured in that is extremely high. Now, this sent me into a real downward spiral. I started hanging out with some of the other people that were around the gym that had very negative minds, that were very open to some nefarious types of activities in order to provide for themselves. So I started stealing salmon from grocery stores to eat. My parents begged me to come home, but I knew that if I had left, it's quite likely I would never come back. And the thought of me throwing everything away and moving back to Burns Lake, where I had grown up, and getting stuck there made me want to blow my head off. So I stayed and I stole to eat, and I watched everyone around me get better, get signed, and take the place that I felt was rightfully mine. So now, because I was still experiencing this double vision, walking around with an eye patch, the doctors decided to try a second surgery. They thought that it was possible, because the titanium plate under my eye was mesh and not smooth, that my eye had scarred to the plate. So the date to the surgery is getting closer and closer, and I'm starting to look forward to being able to see properly again and not having to walk around with my head tilted to the side like this and get back to fighting. But then 2 days before the surgery, the UFC calls me out of the blue. They've decided to run the 170-pound weight class in tough 16. They don't want to do the whole trials again because obviously that cost them more money. They already had their cast selected, so they were just calling them to come back to Vegas to get some drug tests done and then go to the house. In the span of a few seconds, I had to make a decision on, do I take this shot? Do I go and try to fight out of shape with an eye that doesn't work properly? Or do I let this chance go, hope that I get another one, get the surgery, and get back to 100%? The thought of me fighting with the double vision that I was experiencing was terrifying, so I elected to get the surgery. But before I did, I told the producers that I had a guy for them that I could send in my place, and I told them about my friend Michael Ricci. The producers called him, and Mike Ricci went to the show in my place. 2 days later, I got the surgery, and upon waking up, I once again experienced opening my eyes and seeing 2 clocks. Nothing had changed. I had given away my guaranteed spot on the the Ultimate Fighter, and I was no better for it. This brought me further into the downward spiral. Richie did great in the house, and he became kind of a local celebrity. He grew up in Montreal, so everyone in the city knew him, and as soon as he was out of the house and they started airing the season, which happened quite quickly, you could just see the hype grow and grow and grow. He made it all the way to the finals, and then lost a close decision in the last fight, in the very final finale. It was such a hard pill to swallow for me, because I knew I could have done it. And even though I loved my friend, and I was so happy for him, it was so hard for me not to get bitter and down on myself and ask, like, why? Why did this have to happen to me? But I swallowed it, and I drank it, and I ate it. I blew up to like 190 pounds. Normally I'd walk at 175. That may not seem like a lot to you, but that's like one of my heaviest walking weights of my entire life. My poisonous lifestyle of smoking spliffs, taking bong hits of weed with tobacco, drinking every weekend, and eating pizza and pasta at Richie's parents' place, because that was the only food that I would really be able to get. Thank God for them, because they probably kept me alive. The amount of inflammation that was in my body was palpable. Not exactly what you want when you're recovering from a surgery. Not exactly the type of food that's going to give you healthy thought patterns. Before I had come to Montreal, I was in perfect health. I was eating organic, I had weaponized my diet and my lifestyle, and it had all fallen to shit. This is one of the hardest times in my entire career. It's still hard for me to look back on it without getting emotional, obviously. But even in my inflamed, swollen, fat state, I still stayed committed to my goal. I still did what I could to be in the gym as often as I could. Even if I was just watching, I was taping rounds for guys, trying to make myself useful, just doing anything to feel like I was a part of the team. At this point, a lot of rumors started going around about people that were talking about me, telling friends of mine that I would never make it, that I would never come back from this, that I would never be in the UFC, that with a record like mine and an injury like mine, I was a lost cause. And that shit pissed me off. I adopted a different mentality. This shit is gonna fucking kill me or I'm making it. And so I really started to do everything in my power to clean up my diet, to start finding ways to make money. My face was healing more and more, and I was able to start finding private lessons. So many that I was actually able to move out of the TriStar dorms, which is, let's say, not a very glamorous place to be calling your permanent residence. I moved into an apartment just up the street. This was a hood. It was full of immigrants and refugees, but it was 1,000 times better than living in those dorms. Now, around this time, I began to work with a new coach, as well as Faraz Zahabi, who would coach me in grappling. I would do all of his grappling classes, and he would run our MMA practices. But I started working privately with a man that took me on, named Johnny Mucciarone. This guy was like an angel, man. He went above and beyond coaching. He made me like a part of his family. I would go to their family dinners. He would teach me everything he knew. He would buy me gear, shorts, gloves, anything that he thought I needed. And beyond being a pretty good kickboxing coach with like a specialization in Taekwondo, he also had one working eye. So he understood the things that I was going through, because he went through similar things in his own martial arts journey. When his degenerative eye disease had started, it precluded him from fighting. And so it was a really cool synchronicity, a little breadcrumb from the universe telling me that I was going the right way. And so I kept going, even though most of the people in the gym thought I would never make it. Most of the people thought that the things I was learning from Johnny were stupid and wouldn't work. Everyone would laugh when he would pull out his Taekwondo paddles. But I saw what no one saw. I saw an ability to add a skill that I did not have yet that would allow me to fight at a range that no one else knew. Now, just as me and Johnny's work was really starting to click and everything was starting to come together that way, my eye was healing up very strongly, and I was able to get back to full-on training. Unfortunately, it was quite difficult getting back to full training, because all of the people that I had been ahead of were now ahead of me. I had an incredible amount of negative inner speech around getting hurt again. again. I was terrified of getting hit, and my body was still not back in the type of shape that I was used to experiencing. That being said, I was feeling better slowly every day, and then a miracle happened. It was announced that The Ultimate Fighter was going to do Australia versus Canada, and they were going to shoot it in Quebec. This was the best news that I had heard in a very, very, very long time, because the UFC had seen me twice at Ultimate Fighter trials. The very first one I did was in 2009. I tried out for a 185-pound season as a 155er. Obviously, I was not picked. The second one we've already spoke about in Vegas. So this was the third. Coach Johnny and I booked a train to Toronto where the auditions were being held, and we went and did it all over again. In the grappling, I slayed. In the kickboxing, pad work, now it was just a whole nother level. I had a much more dynamic, much more diverse striking arsenal now. Plus, I had been updated into the TriStar Gym jiu-jitsu system, full of leg locks, dynamic guards, and all of the best things from John Danaher and Faraz Zahabi. Next stop was the audition. This was always the easiest part for me. I just had to be myself, and I was a shoo-in. I was booked to stay in the hotel and get all the rest of the drug testing done. Went through it all with flying colors because I've never been a cheater. I'm not a steroid user, and they didn't really care about my use of cannabis. So everything went perfectly, and we took the train home triumphant, knowing that it was guaranteed to get on the show. I had even been told before this audition that I didn't even need to go to the audition, but I didn't want to take a chance. So I went home and began the difficult process of waiting for the call. At first, I was sure that I made it, but as time went by, week after week, I started to question, what if they think I'm too old now? What if they think that after this layoff, after this injury, that I wouldn't be able to be the same guy? Will they even let me fight with double vision? And then it happened. I got a text from one of the other people that was at the audition saying, I made it, man, I made it. Are you in too? I was devastated. And then it happened again. And then it happened again. It seemed like they were calling everybody, but my phone wasn't ringing. I was destroyed. I had done every single thing that I possibly could. I had fought my negative mind. I had adopted like a win or die mindset and just going all in once again. This wasn't even the first time my face had broken. This wasn't the first time that I had a major layoff, a major hurdle that I had to jump over in my career. I was perfect for the show. I was perfect for the UFC, but it felt like they were just passing me over again. I was absolutely devastated. It's an understatement to say that I was devastated. And then something happened. My mind somehow shifted. Honestly, I don't know where this came from, but it's like a light opened up in my brain that had just been dark for so long. And I just looked around. I looked at this amazing gym that I was training at. I looked at my life. I was able now to sustain my existence with just martial arts. I didn't have to go and steal food to eat. I didn't have to go and throw away my dream and start swinging a hammer or cooking in some hot kitchen for 10 hours a day. I just got to teach people martial arts and learn martial arts every single day. That's all I got. That's all I did. So I started to look at everything that was around me and see beauty in it and be grateful for it. It was like a weight lifted. It was like it didn't matter anymore what the outcome was because I was enjoying the process so much. I was so happy to be where I was and able to do something that I loved and actually make a living from it. And so I went to the gym, and there was a guy there that was offering like free physio for fighters. And so I go and I lie down on this table, and he's working on me, and bring. I pick it up. We're from the Ultimate Fighter. It happened. I fucking made it. I went through all of the darkness, but it wasn't until I found the light that was within me that it blossomed. And so I went to the Ultimate Fighter. I went in after training my ass off for it, starving, breaking myself. I went in and I made sure I'm fighting first. I haven't fought in like 2.5 years. I don't care what anybody says. I'm fighting first. I told the coaches that on the first day, and they let me do it. They put me in. We won the coin toss. I fought first, and I smoked the guy. I fought this dude named Brendan O'Reilly. I cut him. I ripped his knee apart with a heel hook. And I took his back and choked him out, all in just over 3 minutes. That's my ticket right there. It didn't even really matter what happened in the rest of the house. Everybody knows if you go on The Ultimate Fighter and they really like the way you fight and you have a personality, which obviously I have a personality, bro, you're in. I had done it. But I couldn't have done it without the mindset. I couldn't have done it if I just wallowed in my misery and used it as an excuse to stay put, to move back home, to stop training, to just become a lesser version of myself. Sure, I experienced that at some point. I had become a way worse version of myself for a period of time, and that's normal. You're gonna feel these things, but you gotta find a way to get out of it and use the energy that you're experiencing. Whatever parts of that energy that you're experiencing can actually help you to get through that situation. If I'm sitting here and I'm telling you, oh, you're mad because you lost a fight, or you mad because you lost your job, or this or that, whatever negative thing happened in your life, I'm saying, oh, don't be angry, just be light. Bro, shut the fuck up. That's the worst advice ever. You can't just pretend that you're not feeling the things that you're feeling. You're a human being. You're gonna have these emotions, but you have to figure out a way that you can weaponize those emotions. So what did I do first? I used everybody that was talking about me, all of the people that were doubting me. I used that. I got pissed. I let it fuel me to do more work than everyone around me, to do things that other people weren't doing, to think things that other people weren't thinking, to push myself to limits that other people weren't capable of reaching. What did I do next? I accepted the hardship of the journey, how difficult it was, and was willing to go through that hardship, knowing that it would just get harder. And it did. Even on The Ultimate Fighter, it did get harder. After I had accepted the hardship, I became grateful. I had gratitude for all of the things that I did have. Because if you're only looking at the things that you do not have, if you're only looking at what is not there, you can't see all of the beauty around you. You can't see all of the gifts that you're being given. And if you've ever given somebody a gift and they don't give a shit about it, you don't want to give them another one. And I don't really want to make this a big spiritual thing, but if Creator is giving you gifts and you ignore them, He's not going to give you any more. So I had gratitude for my current situation. And that also doesn't mean that I didn't keep working towards what I wanted to create. I just did so with the light of gratitude all within me. And then what did I do next? I took the shot. If you adopt these kind of mindsets, eventually you're gonna get a shot. If you stick with it for long enough, eventually you're gonna get a shot. So take the shot and put everything into it. 100% of yourself, all going in the same direction, and you will win. Now this is a fight story, but this applies to everything. I made this today because I'm actually drawing on this exact situation right now in my life in the business world. I feel like my back is against the wall. I feel like all the pathways forward are extremely hard. I don't have enough time to do the things that I know that I need to do. I don't have enough sleep to have the energy that is required in order to make the moves that I need to make. So first I get pissed, then I use that anger to do more work than is humanly possible, and then I accept the struggle and the hardship that I'm experiencing and will experience into the future. And then I have gratitude for my gym, for you watching, for my kids, for my wife. And then I know I'm gonna get that shot. And when I get that shot, I'm gonna take it. Thanks for watching.